Hey everyone, this is going to be a pretty quick one, I think. So basically, I wanted to go over each of the PDFs or each of the quote files that we use that are up in the front office. So we have all of these across the street, and hopefully that at the older offices and in LJ we have them as well now. If not, let me know. I'll show you where I'm going to store these so that you can actually print these out. These are super helpful for people or the sales team or my team that are doing quotes because you get the basic information from the customer. So this way we can grab at least everything we need to get the customer a quote, even if there's no one here that can talk to them. We can get all that information down. So these are all of them. I think there's 11 of them. We made these up a while back. We've been using them more and more, and they really are really helpful, especially to have the customer, if we ever wanted to have the customer sign off on something, this is kind of a good page to sign off on. So I'm going to go over each of these briefly, just so you can have an overview of how to use them and what each thing means. And like I said, please use these. I use these myself, like I said, to keep a record of what the customer is saying, but these can be very helpful to help the sales team to quote things quicker. So the first one on here, and there's no particular order, is the cupola quoter. So cupolas can be pretty complex, so this form kind of makes it pretty easy. We have the size of the cupola, so you do the feet by feet. So imagine that the bottom of this cupola is a square. Or it could be like a rectangle or something if they request a custom one, but it would be the feet by the feet, so the width by the width of the square. Typically, cupolas are going to be squares, but not always. So the rule of thumb for a cupola is 1 inch per cupola for every 1 foot 3 inches of unbroken roof line. So just quick math. I don't know if they had a 10-foot roof, roughly that's a really small roof, but that's roughly going to be a 9-inch cupola. So that's just something to think about, or 8-inch cupola, but something to think about if you want to help the customer with that. And as with this, I think this right here was a suggestion that was made by someone in the sales team that was just like, hey, how do we see, the customers are asking us a lot what size they should go with. Well, if there's anything like that you want to add, just let me know and I can add it to these documents and then update them in their file. So that way, anytime you download it, it's going to be the newest version of the file. So the colors, you just specify what type of color that they want on each of these things. They can all be different. They can all be the same. Doesn't matter. The pitch of the roof, because the bottom of this cupola is going to have to sit on top of a roof, we need to know the pitch so that they can build the frame that it sits on to match the pitch of the roof. The top is either going to be straight or concave. That's our two options right now. This may change, but straight would look like the picture here. Concave would go, kind of down and then in like this. Ooh, I think I can draw on this quick tool. So basically it would go like that. So that would be like a concave roof. Okay, so like I said, both popular options. Louver types and things like that, I think we don't really have that on here yet. But you could just draw it on here. That's kind of cool too. Like, so if they say like, oh, I want the ones that have the horizontal lines. Well, we know those are louvers. So you can put those on, or maybe if they want like a circle vent or something in here, that's something you can draw on here, and then we can work with the customer on that. So, like I said, even then maybe Chase or me or Eric or somebody can talk to the customer about this. But just having this drawn out will help a lot. All right. So, and if they want a weather vane, I guess I can go ahead and fill these out with, here. So circle. If they want a weather vane, yes, and then maybe you just put like dog, right? So that would like dog, and then that would be their weather vane type. Chimney cap. Chimney caps are pretty simple. This one is there's really two options for chimney caps, single pan and double pan now. Single, you can find pictures of these on our website or in Dropbox. But a single pan is basically one pan. A double pan is basically where it has like 2 layers. So if you just imagine the kind of like little stories. So you'll get their color for their chimney cap. Chimney caps are most of the time just going to be one color. If there will be a hole in the chimney cap, some will be a solid one, but if there will be a hole, you'll need to designate the x-axis, so how far the hole is to here from the edge. So they need to know that. So maybe just do like 6 inches, and then the hole from the y may be like 2 inches, right? And so make sure you fill this out. You'll fill out the length, which should be the length of it, and then the width is the kind of the height. So that one's, these are really easy, but we can actually do a full chimney cap off this information. So always make sure to get all this info as well on all of them. That way, as much as possible, get this info. And if you'd like to add something again, just let me know. We can rotate this one. Okay. Pole barns. Pole barns. This one's super helpful for Clinton Hooper. So if you really want to make him happy, send him a copy of this fully filled out, and it will help him a lot with the customer. Pole barns are pretty simple. He's going to probably ask them a lot more information, but this is just to get them the basics. So the width may be like 20. The height would be like, I don't know, 100. Our length would be 100, and the height may be 8. And then we'll choose the type of panel, and then give them the color. The sides, if there are sides, this will tell Clinton if it's fully enclosed, which helps him a lot. Maybe tough rib and then black or whatever. If they want to insulate, you'll choose which ones they want to insulate. So let's say they want to insulate everything because this one's enclosed. And then metal colors, you have trim, sides, and roof. That's kind of your three options. Like I said, again, this is one that not necessarily we could do a full pole barn quote on, but it would really help Clinton or me or whoever is doing the pole barn quote to have this information before we open up that line of dialogue with the customer. So this is really helpful. Light gauge decking. So a light gauge deck. We are still working on a lot of the parameters for this and how to do it. So right now the quote form is very simple. Just has a lot of notes that you can write about the customer. So if he says like, oh, well, I need it to have this much fall, or I want it to look like this, you can just write those notes out. But also it's pretty easy. This one is just really drawing out the deck for the customer. So like, let's say that the shape was like this, and this was like 6 foot, and we have 3 foot, and 6 foot, and 6 foot, and I'm not going to do the math, but that would be roughly 2 point something, so let's say 2.4 foot. So that this is what maybe their deck looks like, and then maybe they draw. Oh, I want the joist to go this way. Okay, and I'm going to have a post here, post, 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 post. And like I said, whether or not I can get a full quote on this is one thing. I probably could, but if not, I can call the customer, and I already have this info available. So like I said, this helps out a lot. Metal awning. So we get this one a lot, and this is a really easy form to fill out. A metal awning is just one that they're going to build trusses for and attach above a garage or above a door line. You really need 2 of the following. So that's important. You don't have to get all from the customer because typically they're only going to have 2 of these, but 2 of these determine the other one. For example, if I know that the height is 2 foot and I know that the length is 2 foot, I know that the pitch is a 612, or sorry, a 1212. Oh, I said 1212. So I know the pitch is a 1212 because 2 foot, 2 foot, 2 foot here, 2 foot here is a 45-degree angle, which is 1212. They might know their pitch is like a 312, but then they won't know their length. But they will say, oh, I have above my door, I have 3 feet to attach this awning to. Well, I can figure out the length from that, right? And then same thing with, sorry, not length. I've been saying length this whole time. I meant the out. So the out is like from here to here. So they need at least 2 of the 3 of the out dimension, the height dimension, or the pitch dimension. They will need the length dimension. So the length dimension is from here to here. So they will need that dimension. Okay, so make sure you get that one. And then panel type, panel color. So typically they're going to put tough rib panels on it like this. So the tough rib panels will run like that. So find out what panels they want, tough rib, corrugated 5V, that standing seam, whatever, and what color those panels are going to be. But that's typically going to be the panel layout. They're going to have an eave trim here, an end wall here, eave trim here, and an eave trim here. So they're actually pretty easy to finish out. Metal trusses. So this one we get a lot. Again, light gauge trusses are very easy to quote, but they're, like I said, having all this information is kind of the longest part. So gathering this will really help us out a lot. Your span is going to be how far it is from your bearing point to your bearing point. Okay, so wherever your wall is, you got a wall there and a wall there. This is your span. So from outside of here to outside of here, let's say it's 20 foot. Okay, that's your bearing point. So that's your span. Okay, how much of the truss is unloaded is your span. Your overhang is going to be anything outside of the bearing point. So let's say this goes out here 1 foot, then your overhang is 12 inches or 5 foot, or 1 foot, sorry. And usually 99.9% of the time your overhang is going to be universal. It's going to be the same on both sides. If it's not, you can write it in over here, but most of the time it is. Your top pitch is going to be the pitch of the roof. So we'll say 312. So that's obviously the pitch of this roof right here. And then your bottom pitch will be if the truss looks like this. So we call that a scissor truss. that will be the bottom pitch of the truss. Okay? If they say, I don't know, so this is I don't know, but it is a scissor truss, they want a scissor truss, that's fine. I can figure it based on the top pitch and then the span, because the top pitch and the span will kind of determine the bottom pitch and what their limits are. So I will, a lot of times you'll hear customers say things like, I just want as much room as possible. Then that's what you'll do. You'll just get the span and the top pitch, and then just tell me that, like I'll put a question mark there or something, and that way it'll tell me that it's a cathedral, or has a bottom pitch. Scissor truss, that's what they're called. All right, the quantity or the on center and the area to cover. So this is one, you can get either one of these. For example, if they know they need 6 trusses, just put 6. However, most of the time they're not going to know that. They're just going to know how long their building is. So let's say it's 40 foot long. So if you imagine this is a building, that's this dimension. Okay, so like let's imagine this is a building. That would be the dimension from here to here. Okay, that's the length. Okay, the length of the building will be the area to cover. And then the on center of the trusses, again, they can either just say, as good as you can do or as much as you can do. So they may just say question mark. That's fine. I'll figure it based on the width and the length. Or he may say, or they may say, oh, I want it 2 foot on center, because then maybe they're doing drywall or they're doing OSB and it's 2 foot on center. So something to think about there. And then a custom truss design. We can always design custom trusses. We had a big, or actually a really small custom truss order yesterday that looked like this. It had a 1 foot landing on the bottom. It went up, and then it had a 3 foot landing here, and then it went to there. So it was like 2 foot. 3 foot, and then it had like webbing in it. So they were kind of cool decorative trusses. So anything like this we could design, or I mean, you can get as crazy as you want. There's there's trusses that look like that, and they've got webbing. So yeah, anything that you can get from the customer will help out here. And if I have any more questions, I'll ask them. But this would really help out just to get a quick drawing of the custom truss. All right, light gauge floor truss, very similar to the truss. The only difference is you have a lot less flexibility when it comes to the shape. It's always going to look like that. So super simple. It's going to look like a web truss, but you can get the height. So from here to here, what they need it to be. Typically, it's going to be a pretty simple increment, 12 inches, 24 inches, but it could be custom. So it could be 11 and 7/8, because that's actually a common kind of weird thing whenever somebody's using 1/8 of an inch decking or whatever. So this could be a thing. So put that right here. The span will be, again, the span is always the unloaded part. So if you have an 8-inch brick wall here, and then you have like one here, okay, the span is just going to be the length of the truss, okay, because technically the span is from here to here, but we're always just going to say this is the length of the truss. And then the same rules apply for figuring how many you need. They can either tell you the quantity, or you can give me the area to cover. So if they're covering a room and it's 100 foot long, and they're running, and they're 6 foot wide, right? So this is like a really skinny hallway, and they're going to put joists like this, okay? And they want to put them 2 foot on center, okay? Well, then you would just put on center of 2 foot, and then put area to cover 100, okay? And then that way I can figure that that's going to be 51 trusses, right? So I can just figure out their trusses based on that. It's just 100 divided by 2 plus 1. Or, like I said, they may just know that, and he may specify 51 trusses, which is also cool. All right, light gauge walls. So this is things that whenever someone's wanting a custom light gauge wall, this might be to, block off an opening. That's what we'll do here. And they want to create a custom light gauge wall that's prefabricated. Well, this is actually just as easy as like the decking or whatever. So let's say that someone has a wall in their house, and it has a big opening like this, and they want to cover that opening, okay? All you would be doing, and they want to fill in this opening. So what they're going to do is they're going to give you your dimensions. They're going to give you their dimensions of the opening. So you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to draw it right here. So that's what they want to do. They want to seal it up, and let's say it's 7'3", and let's say it's 8 foot wide. So that's the size of the wall. So that's honestly, that's pretty much it. So you draw it out. The gauge, they can either specify the gauge, or they'll just say whatever you need, and I'll figure it for them based on whatever their loads are or whatever. And then the only other thing is if it's punch for electrical. So just say yes. And what that's going to do is all the studs that we punch, it's going to put these little holes in it so that they can run electrical wire through there. Okay. And then again, any notes, any special notes, maybe, for example, let's say they draw, you draw like this, and it's got like, let's say it's 9 foot over here and 7'3" over here. Well, that's like an angled wall, right? Let's say it's angled, but he's like, I want to do this in 2 pieces, right? So do this in 2 pieces, but I could go through and cut this in half for them, and then that way I know that it's actually 2 walls. So anything like that, like I said, the more information, the better. Okay. Light gauge building. So light gauge building is almost exactly the same as a pole barn. You specify the overhang, except, so I'll do that. So you do the same, you do the width, we do the length, the eave height, okay? And then we are going to, the only difference from the pole barn, it looks like, I didn't even realize it was not that many differences, it's just the overhang. So the overhang on a light gauge building is custom, as opposed to on the pole barns, they're pretty standard. So if you want to overhang and it's right here, you would say like 6 inches. And if they want like a 1 foot overhang on this side, you could put that right there. Because sometimes the end wall and the gable, which is this side, and the side wall will be 2 different overhangs, and that's fine. If it is, just write it in. So maybe put like, they're at 1 foot. And then same thing with your metal, your colors, your siding. You just make sure you choose everything. The only difference, remember, and then this is in other training videos, but light gauge buildings always have to be enclosed. They're never exposed and open. So keep mind on that. Let's see. Will B&M provide windows and doors? So you just say yes or no. And then this will mean that they're going to use our personnel doors, or maybe they're just ordering their own. Light gauge framing jobs, typically customers have their own doors and windows, so this is an important question here. And also remember, this is good. If you do a light gauge building, you also have to do a light gauge truss, because I got to know what type of trusses go on this building, right? So this is just for your wall layout. And then also, so on this one, specify, I should have prepped for this one because it's a little more complicated, but specify dimensions below and mark sizes and locations of openings. So this is important on this one. And this is probably, like I said, the most important thing to grab from the customer while you have them is the doors and window openings. So on this frame, just draw out the doors and window openings. So you want to do like, you maybe do right here and put like 3 foot door, right? Okay. And then maybe right here, there's a 2x3 window. Okay. So like I said, that'll help me out a lot. And then like I said, if you can get, I want it 2 foot from this corner, for example. Like a lot of times customers will specify that kind of stuff. So the more detail, again, that you can get, the better it will really help me when quoting the building or when calling the customer. All right, underpinning. So underpinning is when you have basically, and there are other applications than trailers, but typically you're going to have a trailer. And what's going to happen is you've got the trailer building and it's kind of up on blocks, or it's up on posts, right? And what they're trying to do is they're going to put your panels and cover this area. So they're going to put tough rib panels to cover this area. So figuring these can be kind of complicated, but we have tools that do it. But this is just an easy way to get the customer or you to fill out so that we can use the tool to quote. So all you have to do is get the 4 heights of their building. And they're going to have these measurements because they have to specify these anyway. So typically I like to get these in inches. We can convert it, but if you can. So let's say that's 43 inches. This is 12 inches, 12 inches, and I don't know, 40 inches. All right, so this one's kind of odd. You got like a really low backside and then the front side's really high, but maybe this is sitting on really unlevel ground and that's what this would look like. Then you want to get the length of this side. So like, let's just say 14 foot. 28 foot, and 14 and 28. Now typically these are going to be the same, but we added them just because we have had some that maybe the house was like the front of the house was here and then it was like a cutout right here. So they only needed the underpinning for here. So like say it looked like that, right? They only needed the underpinning for like here and here and here and not this area. So like we do all 4 lengths. How much panel would be buried in the ground? Either 3 inches, 2 inches, 1 inch, or 0. You'll never have more than 3 inches, so that's why that's specified. Like I said, typically they'll run their panels a little bit longer so that they can put them in the ground a little bit, and so the panel goes all the way into the ground. So that's what you're specifying here, and that's going to usually be up to the contractor. And would you like S trim? So S trim is like a trim that goes at the top, and it seals off, and it makes it look really nice. So I like S trim, so if you can encourage the customer to do that, that'd be nice. It does make it look a lot better. So that's underpinning, and like I said, we'll run it through the quoter, and it's done. So that's a simple one, but that'll help you get that. And like I said, that also helps. This is a big one that helps with the customer. Have them confirm, and you can even have, like I said, the customer sign all of these pages. Because that gives us some increased leverage if something goes wrong. So and then underdeck, this is the last one. So underdeck is probably the most complicated, I guess, one. They can be tough to quote, but it's a lot like quoting a roof. So I'll just go over all the basic things. So underdecking quoter. Please get the following dimensions, choose a panel direction. Okay, good. So you want the width of the underdeck. So let's just say it's 10 foot. And you want the length of the underdeck. So we'll say it's like 9 foot. Okay, so that's their underdeck. This wall thing is, what I would do is either just check mark or just fill this in, because that tells us that there's a wall up against the deck. And that actually matters for trim. And so, so that's kind of important. It's actually important for trim. And then also, if they're doing gutters or things like that, we need to know where the water's going and if it's going towards or away from walls and things like that. The panel direction, you want to choose if it's going to be directional, horizontal or vertical, and which way it's going. Okay, so for example, if it's horizontal in this direction, you can just draw the arrow. Or if it's horizontal in this direction, I guess it doesn't really matter. But if there's fall in the roof, I would put the arrow in the direction that the fall is going towards. So that would mean that, if they're going to have gutters and downspouts, and you want the fall to go this way and the gutter to be over here, then put the arrow that way. Okay, not just that way. Same thing with vertical. If it's going this way towards this wall, for example, you would do that. Okay. If wall exists, color in. If no wall exists, place an X. So there you go. So that's pretty simple. So there obviously will not be a wall on every side of the deck because that's impossible. But so you just put a big X in it if there is no wall there, and then we'll color it in if there is a wall. Okay. That way, like in this example, we know what trim needs to go here, trim needs to go here, and if not this, but let's say this is the panel direction. So the panels are going vertical, and it is going to have downspouts. Well, we know that the gutter is going to go right there, and the downspouts are going to go there and there. So, like I said, that we're going to have further training on underdeck and how to use the panels and how to quote it and things like that. But that is the basics of how to at least fill out the information to get a quote. What width panels being used? 16 and 12 are the only two options right now. We have narrower options, but that's kind of the thing right now. Your color. You can include a color chart with these. So if you want to have a customer fill this out, or you fill it out with the customer, you can include a color chart and have them sign it. That's actually been very beneficial for us in the last couple days. Will the panels catch water? So if they're under a deck, for example, you have a deck that has slats in it and it's above this, and so rain is going to go in there. That's going to catch water. So we need to know that. Will you need wall flashing against the home? So will there be wall flashing up against the home? So if this is a solid wall and it's up against the house, will they need wall flashing? Would you like to use a gutter or just let the water run off the end? So gutter, so like if the water is running here, if they have a trench or something right here, or maybe it's farther out from their house or their foundation, they may not want a gutter. They just let the water run out. And if that's the case, then you won't need a gutter. Do you need downspouts? Again, yes or no. How many? So like I said, on this example, I put 2, 1 every 10. So typically I like to keep them 10 foot on center, but 20 foot is like industry standard. But so they may specify that. How long would the downspouts be? So that's how high your deck is, obviously. And then do you want elbows at the bottom of your downspout? So the downspout goes down like this, and then a little elbow would go on the end like this, and then kick out the water like that, which is a good option. And so if you can sell that to them, that's good, because like I said, it keeps the water off the foundation. It keeps it away from the house. So, and that's it. So that's all of our little quote forms right now. We will be adding a bunch more of these, I'm sure. But like I said, these are really helpful to the sales team. And like I said, they'll be very helpful for things like liability and making sure that the customer, is giving us the correct information. So if you guys have access to these, please use them. I'll show you where they're going to be. So very simple. Same, we talked about our Dropbox stuff a while back, but in Dropbox, under products, and then in those product pages, let's say there was one for pest control, I don't know, but let's say there was one for, actually let's do one that I already have, because I'm about to put them in there now, but let's say there's one for roll-up doors. Doors, roll up, it'll be in there. So it'll be in the specific, down to the tier of the product that you're trying to do. So if you want to do an underdeck panel, it'll be in panels, underdeck. And then steel framing, I think steel framing will have like the trusses. Yeah, steel trusses. Okay, so it'll be in here. All right. So if you guys have any questions about these, please let me know. Remember, we can add to these. They can change. If there's any changes that happen that aren't on this video and you guys see them, let me know, and I'll either update the video, I'll just send out a memo. But yeah, please use these as much as you can, and I really appreciate it. I know this video is a lot longer than I expected, but like I said, these are very helpful. So thanks, guys.